All right, welcome to Vortic's current facility. We're over on Link Lane in Fort Collins. This was our third facility, and we've been here since 2017, I believe. This room here is our front office. This is where Kyle, our operations manager, sits. He's who you talk to if you email us or give us a call. We've got some display materials in here. This actually used to be our clean room at one point. We just had plastic hung across the room to keep the dust out, and this is where we had two assemblers building watches quite some time ago. So yeah, this room has been through a few evolutions, and it looks all right now, but you know, we're excited to get over to the new space. Now we're in kind of the main floor of Unit A. We have two units over here on Link Lane. This is kind of our shipping space out here. We have a sandblaster. This is Kyle. Kyle's our operations manager. We have our laser engraver over here, kind of a break room. And when we initially moved into this space, these two rooms didn't exist. So when we bought some machinery, we decided to build this room to enclose everything in there for noise, coolant, all of those types of things. And then over here we have the assembly room. This is kind of makeshift. We've made what we've had work, as opposed to with the new building, we're able to kind of start from the very beginning and make it perfect for us. So inside here is our machine room. So this is 3 of our 4 current Haas machines. We have a VM2 right here. This machine runs almost all day, every day, making cases, case backs, bezels, things of that nature. This is our lathe here. It's a Haas CL1. This is the smallest lathe that Haas makes. This is just a 2-axis, I guess technically 3-axis with the live tooling. Just an XZ axis lathe, real rudimentary bar pusher, really good for small parts. Now that we have a sub-spindle lathe with a Y-axis and probing and all that fancy stuff, this machine is really for one-off and short-run parts that we're not planning on making again. So say detent stems for some weird antique movements, and short runs, think a military edition. Those parts we're not constantly producing throughout the year. Each year we make small design changes. So we only make 50 of those, so we just run 50 of those parts on this machine. And then this machine right here, our super mini mill, this is the very first machine we bought back in 2017. I've converted everything to a 4th-axis tombstone situation, and we're putting a rock lock base in there so we can really quickly switch out between different fixturing. But this machine is really useful and really just keeps on going. We've had almost 0 issues with that machine in the past. But other than that, we've got tool changing station, different fixturing and pallets that will go in the VM. We've got our raw stock titanium. This is, where we start for watch cases. And this is how the parts come off the machine. So these are some of our V2 parts, cases, case backs that are coming right off the machine. We use these egg cartons to make sure that they don't hit each other and dent the parts. All right, so back here, obviously we have our laser here. We have kombucha on tap from the business across the parking lot. Cleaning machine for watch parts. Gordon, our watchmaker, uses that primarily. We've got a new one on the way. Hot plate for heat treating and different purposes of watchmaking. We've got some neat stuff over here, lots of custom fixturing. This is for bending our buckles. We machine them straight, kind of like this. And then we bend them. Here's where we punch our straps. We have our crown at 12 o'clock, and sometimes that interferes with the strap, so we use this arbor press and some custom tooling to punch that out. Lots of little normal stuff over here, just some grinding wheels, and we use this area a lot just for modifying small parts when we're assembling watches. We've got a kiln here for heat treating, More ultrasonic and cleaning space over here, storage, things of that nature. And as we come around, we'll take you inside the assembly room here. This is kind of where everything comes together from the parts that we make in the machine room, serviced movements. This is where everything comes together to make the final product. All right. We're going to do our best not to disturb Gordon and Derek in here as they're building their watches. But as you can see, we've got kind of a rudimentary air scrubbing setup in here. And then we've got plug-in AC units to try and control the temperature. But right now, we just have an air filter that's kind of pushing air into the room, so we have positive pressure, and then a little outlet in the corner of the room with the idea that this air is kind of constantly flowing through here, putting clean air in and pushing the dirty air out. We've got a few watchmaking benches here for our watchmakers to build watches and service watches. Pretty straightforward there. We've got all of our part storage here. And over here, we've got cases, small turned parts, inserts over here for the different models. Say he's building a Hamilton 916, he'll reach in this bin and get that part. We've got custom tooling over here for closing watch cases. The current V2 product uses glued crystals, so this is a gluing setup. It's all pneumatically operated. We test every watch with pressure and vacuum to make sure that they're waterproof, and that happens after the watch is finished. So we use a dry tester for that right now. As we move over here, we have our watch. These are technically watch winders. You know, normally automatic watches would be on here and this movement would be winding that watch. We use them as watch testers. What they do is put each movement inside the watch, both movements that have been serviced. So these are serviced movements that we're testing, and then these are finished watches. So these movements are destined to go in a watch. These movements have been built and are testing the finished product. We test before and after. But what this machine, these machines here do is put the movement in every conceivable position that they will be in real life. Since we make mechanical watches that have gears and springs, gravity works a little bit different depending on how you hold it. So we put the watches on these testers and run them for at least 4 days to make sure the timekeeping is still consistent when you wear it on your wrist. And then as we move over here, this is really watch movements and inventory. We buy a ton of movements. Not everything is suitable to be restored and put into a watch. You know, we get things in various conditions. There's broken parts. It's hard to get new ones. Sometimes we're borrowing parts from other movements. So we just have a ton of parts out here and watch dials and lots of stuff. We actually 3D print these custom trays to hold everything, and it makes everything a little bit more manageable. And we even laser cut these drawers because it's kind of tough to find large flat drawers like this. So we made our own. And as we move over here, we've got microscope, more watch movements. Here's our main watch tester. This is an automatic 5-axis watch tester. So this will put the watch in all different positions automatically and then give us a printout. And we use these little printouts. These follow the watch so we know how it was running before we built the watch. Other than that, we have Gordon's bench here. We have a microscope, a couple of small watchmaking lathes that Gordon is in the process of restoring, so we can use those to recreate some of those old antique parts in the future. But that's it. That's basically the assembly room. All right, over here we have most of our stuff for shipping. If you notice, we have changed our shipping box, our watch box. Now we're using these Otter boxes, which are super cool. These are their original product, the dry box. And we really like these. These are really high quality and waterproof. So we figured you can use these for more than watches afterwards. And OtterBox is right here in Fort Collins, so it's a pretty cool partnership. We used to use a wax seal on and wrap our boxes. To still incorporate that wax seal, we use these little notes for your paperwork for the watch and put a little wax seal on here. We kind of cheat. We use one of these hot glue guns for the wax, and that makes it a lot easier for us to do a lot of these seals. So right now we opened up this door between the two units after we moved into Unit B over here. So this is just kind of a storage closet that's now a walkway between the two spaces. But this used to be a business that was building bicycle trailers before we took it over. So it was really, again, just an open floor space. We bought this machine about a year ago, and we didn't have anywhere to put it, so that's why we grabbed this Unit B over here. That'll be coming over to the new space once we move. Over here, we've got some of our original machines. These two machines are Sureline desktop kind of hobby manual machines, and this is what I used to machine our parts on before we had those CNC Haas machines. So I would literally come over here, one case at a time, hand crank everything. And each case would take in the realm of 5 hours. And as you can imagine, it's really easy to mess up on one of these. So got a lot of hours on these machines, but thankfully now they're just kind of for odds and ends. We don't do any type of production on those machines. Over here, we've got a 5-axis, again, kind of a hobby machine, Pocket NC. It's a 5-axis machine that we use for training and for, again, small one-off odds and ends. Usually Delrin is what we're cutting on this machine, but this thing is pretty darn neat. We don't have any air conditioning in this building, so we added this extra unit here to help cool this area. If the machine room is really hot, it can actually cause your parts to grow, and when you measure them, they're perfect, and then you bring them into the assembly room that is cooled with AC, and they'll be smaller than you thought they were. So that's why we try to keep our space cool. Other than that, we've got a new Ingersoll air compressor in this closet here. This closet helps contain the heat and the sound from this thing. That thing's pretty much running all day, every day, to supply our machines with air. The CNC machines use air for keeping the spindle clean when it's doing tool changes. They have automatic pneumatic grease systems, things of that nature. So each machine uses quite a bit of air. Coming around here, we try to order all of our material pre-cut, but that's not always the case. So when we have to, we have the bandsaw here to cut material. We've got bars of material over here that will go in the lathe. And then over here we have our 3D printers. You know, we 3D print all the time, but not for production. We use 3D printing for jigs and tools for assembly and storage. For example, we make these little trays that hold the watch cases once they're in the drawers in the assembly room, so they can't run into each other. They're nice and firm on there, and they're stackable. Just good use of space. And finally, we've got manufacturing office. That's my office in here where we do a lot of the design and programming. And then our engineer Sky sits over here. Luckily, we'll both have some nice offices in the new building. Other than that, that's basically it. And that's the shop space.
So that's a tour of 517 North Link Lane. We've been there since 2017, 5 years in that space. Do you remember when we expanded from just Unit A into, now Unit B as well?
Yeah, I think that was just over a year ago.
Right.
It was because we bought our Haas ST20Y, which takes about 70 amps. Mm-hmm. And we added a second service to Unit A for a total of 200, which we're currently overtaxing. And then we added Unit B and then bought an air compressor. So we are officially also overtaxing Unit B.
Yeah, so we're full on maxed out, 300 amps total, and we had to get real creative with the electrical capacity of those 2 units over there. And that's one of the reasons we had to move, was just I don't remember. I think the electrical contractor gave us a quote on, like, we'd have to build a transformer, we'd have to increase the total capacity of the whole building, and unless we owned that building, it just doesn't make any sense.
Right, along with a lot of the things that we wanted to do, when we're renting, it's tough to justify that cost because it's not an investment. It's kind of a sunk cost as soon as we either outgrow the space or decide that we want to move or buy a building.
Yeah.
But we had kind of the same issue there as we had here. We're sitting in our new building on Jefferson Street. But we had full control from the beginning, so we were able to upgrade the service from 200 amps to 1,000 amps before we even moved in.
Yeah.
And that was, frustrating process. We had to dredge under the street and everything, but we own this building, so it's an investment, and 1,000 amps should cover us for a long time.
Yeah, and to spend, the quote we got for Link Lane was on the order of like $100,000 to increase the electrical capacity of that building. And I think it was similar here, but it was a little bit less here because we're right downtown and they could tap into an existing transformer. Over there, it's in this industrial park, kind of off the beaten path here in Fort Collins. And so we'd basically be upgrading the electrical capacity of like that whole neighborhood or something crazy.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It just didn't make sense. But besides the electrical capacity, there was a ton of other issues over there that, like, to your point, it just wouldn't make sense to invest that much money in the building. Like, the ceiling, just the fact that location isn't quite as cool as here. And then the total square footage, like, we would have had to buy that entire, or lease that entire building, which is 10,000 square feet. We had 4,000 with those 2 units.
Yeah, we had less than half there that we have here.
Yeah, and then like natural light, like here the lights are actually off right now. It's awesome. Over there's like the garage windows in Unit A. Unit B's garage is like a shed garage door.
Yeah, we made Unit A a little bit nicer.
Yeah, but just not a whole lot of natural light. And here there's the things with the vent, like the vents in the ceiling with all the light. It's just amazing. So
yeah, we did our due diligence, right? I went through and made a whole design for how we would upgrade that space, and we went and priced it out. And even doing exactly what we wanted at that time, our plan was not to buy any more machines. We could have made it work, and I'm really happy we decided to kind of go bigger and take a little bit of a risk to move here, because since we've made that decision, I bought 2 more machines that we
wouldn't have fit,
don't have room for, and can't power. So
opportunity.
It's nice to have a little bit of extra space. We were planning to renovate the current space. Those renovations would have put us in a place where any growth would have outgrown us immediately after we did those renovations.
For sure. Yeah, it would have been a sunk cost, and we would have lost all that within a year or two. Like,
it was
in this
a year
building,
or 2.
Yeah, for sure. In this building, we got hopefully 3 to 5. Which is the goal, and we've been in this like awkward trying to move phase for how long?
At least a year.
I was gonna say 9 to 12 months at this point, because all kinds of issues with permits, everybody using supply chain issues and other COVID related, not necessarily excuses, but like literal problems in the construction industry. But thankfully our landlords have been awesome. Like we had a previous landlord over at Link Lane, and she was just the best landlord I think we've ever had. Super kind, super nice. And she sold that building last year. And then the new landlord has been, honestly, even better. Like, if that was even possible, he's been so kind. And we keep coming back. Like, I don't know, I feel like a kid going back and be like, I'm so sorry. We need 3, maybe 6 more months. And thankfully they've just kind of given us a month to month until we move in here. But
yeah, this process has taken, at least an extra 6 months over what we were expecting. And that kind of Band-Aid mode that we've been in, I think more than anything else, it's tough on kind of the mindset of the employees, because we keep saying, okay, we're going to move at the end of December, and then it's the end of January, and then it's the end of April, and then it's the end of May. So a lot of what we've been doing recently is, just being really transparent with our employees and telling them the story, painting the picture of what we're working towards and why this is all worth it. But, if you've ever been in that Band-Aid mode, you know that it's just kind of like every time something comes up, we can either do the permanent fix or we can just kind of do something that works. Yep. And that's really not our attitude normally at Vortic. So it's going to be exciting to actually make the move.
Super exciting just to have a permit. I mean, that's really the next step is trying to get a permit for this building. Once we have that, then we'll actually be able to see some momentum and show everybody, not just the employees, but just everybody, like, hey, there's walls going up, there's things happening. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I mean, for this episode, we just wanted to give you a tour of our previous building, talk a little bit about that, like why we had to move, all that kind of stuff. And in the next episode, we're going to do a tour of this building, our new one, and just talk through all the exciting things that we're working on and what's next.
Exactly.
So that's it for this episode of Custer Wolfe, Building a Watch Company. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel here so you can follow us. Follow along and literally watch what we're doing. Definitely check us out on Instagram too, so you can get reminders of the episodes as they come out.
Yeah, and if you want weekly updates, you can sign up for our email list at vorticwatches.com.
Yep, just follow, subscribe. We'll see you next time.